you do not have 2 yoga blocks, I'd say get 2 yoga blocks just because they're going to come in handy for some of the stretches that we do now, but also later on down the line that we're going to do. So you're going to start out on your knees. My head might get cut off here, but you're going to start out on your knees, hip bone width distance apart. So generally you can measure that by like 2 fist width distance between the knees. And then you're going to step the left foot forward. And you're going to come forward into a low lunge, just like you were wanting to stretch this hip flexor and this quadricep. When you come forward into the lunge, the knee, you're going to come into full range of motion first off. And that left knee is going to be above that left ankle. So you're going to be kind of dropping into the hips, not really focusing on any strength or containment at first. I just want you to get that heavy feeling basically in the pubic bone and the pelvis. This is where I like the blocks for, just because they give a little bit more height and lift so that you can stay upright with the chest and the spine and the torso. So once you're in the lunge, you'll just pause there and take a couple of breaths. And you're thinking about the heaviness of the pelvis dropping forward and down. And you're going to slow down the breathing. That's going to be a big component of doing these stretches. So breathing in and out of the nose. And then we're going to draw in a little containment where you pull that left hip back. Now, if you look what that does when I pull that left hip back, it directs that right hip forward. So nothing is changing in my front knee at all. It all changes in the pelvis. And you're not trying to push this hip too far forward. Just want to almost back out of the lunge a little bit so that you're not at full range of motion and you're actually working some of the muscles in the hips and in the pelvis. And then engage that right glute, like you're trying to use it to push that right hip forward. And then extend the collarbones forward, getting nice extension through the thoracic spine. Slow on the inhales and slow on the exhales. And you just want to scan through the body to make sure that that left hip stays back, that right glute stays engaged, that upper back stays extended. Same with the cervical spine. So you don't want to drop the chin towards the chest because that's going to collapse all the way down through the torso into the pelvis. And you just kind of keep checking off those points. The knees above the ankle, the left hip draws back, the right hip draws forward, the right glute engages, the chest extends forward, the top of the head extends forward, the breath remains steady. And as you're doing this position, you're just going to pay attention to the reaction of your body in this position. And if it ever feels like too strong of a stretch, I just want you to back out a little bit more, and back out by squeezing the legs towards each other, like you're trying to drag the left heel back and the right knee forward. And I'll just stay a couple more breaths. So focusing on keeping that back leg strong, and you keep the back leg strong by keeping that hip engaged and pushing forward. You keep the front leg stable by pulling that front hip bone back. Make sure that you're not gripping the ground with the toes. If the hands aren't on the block, you can always have them on the floor and then still work that extension if you don't have blocks yet. So you work that extension through the upper back, and you focus just on length from the top of the right knee all the way up the body through the torso. Now you're going to tuck the back toes, and you're going to lift the back knee. You're going to turn that knee in and set down on the outer edge. So your toes are going to point to the side of the leg that's forward. So they'll point towards the midline of the body. It's probably an easier way. And you'll post that right arm off to the side and bring that left forearm to the top of the thigh. And again, you're going to stay upright in the posture, engaged in the posture. The right hip pushes forward. The left hip stays where it is. So this left leg isn't going to fall in or fall out. Knee stays pointing directly forward. Hip draws back, right hip drops. And you roll this right shoulder onto the back so that the stretch will either strongly or passively extend up through the abdomen into the chest. And you're not going to turn too much towards that front leg, just a little bit. Thinking about, or starting to think about engaging that right glute to push that right hip down towards the ground. Still steady on the breathing. And you think about the muscles in that right hip starting to relax, specifically the front of the right hip. The back of the right hip is going to stay engaged. Right shoulder stays on the back, or the shoulder that's posting you to the ground is going to stay on the back. You're going to bring the other hand to the ground. You're going to tuck the toes. You're going to lift the back knee, and then you're going to turn the knee out. Now the toes are going to point out away from the body. Now you can keep the hands to the ground, and this is going to depend day to day for you how tight your body is or how tired it is, what the best option is. Hands to the ground or hands to the blocks. Or you can do a little combo of both, or you can just have the hands off the ground. Obviously this is going to be stronger. This stretch is going to target across the hips. And it's fairly intense just because of the position of the back knee. And you're sinking a little bit more forward into the front leg, but I still want you to hug that hip back just a bit, just so that you're not dropping all of the pressure into the groin on the back leg. And then the chin and the sternum and the pubic bone are all in line with each other. That back glute stays engaged to support. And try to keep the chin parallel to the ground, and I think that's one of the hardest things to do. Trying not to gain tension in the shoulders or collapse the chin, but think about the body as a whole, like the inside of the knee draws up through the inner thigh. The inside of the back knee draws up through the inner thigh, up the center line of the torso, and connects at the base of the chin. Slow breaths. Good, and then you're going to bring the hands to the ground if they're off the ground. You're going to tuck the back toes, lift the back knee, bring it to a neutral position. And then you're going to start to shift the hips back. When the hips get above that back knee, then you're going to start to walk that left foot forward. I like to slide it forward. It's going to depend on what surface you're on. But pushing it forward, the hips are then going to draw forward. And you're going to move the right knee or the back knee further back. And you're looking for kind of a half splits position. Again, like we did with the lunge, you're going to plug that front hip back slightly. So it's rotating the back hip forward. The front toes are flexed back towards the shin bone and they push away with the heel. Don't lock out the knee joint on that front leg, and don't collapse through the back. So if you don't have blocks, fingertips are always a really good option. And as much as you're pulling the toes back towards the shin bone, you're pushing the heel away from you. Slow, steady breathing so that you can get the groin and the adductors to open up. And you want to start to think about the muscles sinking into this position. Now the hands are really firm to the ground, and how you're gonna come out of this one is by re-engaging through the back of the leg. So you're gonna start to squeeze the legs together. You're gonna drag that left heel back. If you're on a yoga mat, it's gonna do that. When you can't bring it back any further by dragging it, then just release, come to the knees, hip bone width distance apart. Glutes are slightly engaged, knees drive down. And then you're gonna sit the hips back to the heels. You're gonna bring the chest to the thighs, the forearms to the ground, and the forehead to the ground as well. And you're gonna spend a few breaths here, just getting some compression back through the hip flexors. Good, and then you'll come up and you're gonna switch sides. So the next one you'll have the right leg forward, and replay this video so that the timing is the same on both sides. Just know that the sides that I'm cueing are switched. So you start with the left leg forward on the first round, then you do the right leg forward on the second round. And I tried to make the cues a little bit more fluid between the two so that I wasn't only cueing right and left. Give that a go. Once you're done with the other side, same thing. You come back to this position and you're just gonna hold for a few breaths. And then I just want you to turn over onto your back and lie there for a minute, just letting the muscles relax and really thinking about the muscles relaxing. And that'll start, I'd say, do this every day, once or twice a day for a week, and then let's see how things are feeling and what the reaction is with your body. And keep me posted too on what you're feeling, and if anything comes up, right? You're fairly aware of your body, so any pain or discomfort that comes up or sort of changes, because it'll help me kind of plan for the next thing that we do. So let me know. I'll talk to you soon. See ya.